A situation like that. Or for us individually, when you've experienced heartache, when you've experienced the death of a loved one, the loss of a loved one, the separation from a loved one, when you experience grief, you begin to experience joy once more. As a church, when you've gone through a crisis, when you've gone through division, how do you redeem a sense of joy? How do you restore joy in a community? I have a couple of observations. I don't know that they're trite, nice, and tight answers for you, but a couple of observations. One has to believe that joy is possible even after profound grief. And maybe we even have to be surrounded by a community, by friends, even by strangers who come to our rescue. Maybe we have to be surrounded by people who can remind us that joy is possible even after profound grief. William Faulkner wrote, "Given a choice between grief and nothing, I choose grief." Life is a lot like that. I think sometimes we cocoon ourselves and we don't really risk relationship because we're so afraid of being hurt. We're so afraid of being, of suffering, of experiencing grief. And I thought about this quote from William Faulkner. "Given a choice between grief and nothing, I choose grief." And I was thinking about this, and instead of Googling it, I threw it out there on Facebook to see what the commentary would be. And a young man that, when I was in college, he was about 10 years old, and I was kind of a big brother capacity for him. He answered back. I thought there was a lot of maturity in his reply back, adding commentary to William Faulkner's quote. And to know a little bit about Kyle. He's been back from Afghanistan. He's a young man. He's trying to rebuild his life. And he had this to say, and I thought it was profound. "Nothing begets nothing. At least the feeling of grief can give you the opportunity to gain a little wisdom and compassion about whatever it is you're grieving over. Grief comes from misfortune of things that you either love, care about, or at the very least are deeply concerned with. Therefore, if you don't experience a little grief here and there, then obviously you haven't been in tune with very much with the great parts of human emotion either." I think about all those things that Kyle must have witnessed when he was engaged in a war, when he was experiencing a war. That the maturity of somebody who's been through a devastating hurricane, the maturity of a young person that's come back from war, the belief that joy is possible even after those horrible realities. I think, at least for me, I've learned something from people who have experienced great grief that still believe that joy is possible. And I think, too, my second observation, my second instinct about restoring joy in life is that we are enabled, we are better for being surrounded by an endearing sense of community. Friends and family who care about us. And this is what we hope for in church. That when we can't bear the weight of our own burdens, that we have a community, sisters and brothers, a family of faith that can come up alongside of us, that can bear the burden with us, that can carry the burden with us. That's the hope of a community of faith. That's the promise of being a part of a church. That we have people that can remind us that joy is possible even after you've experienced profound grief. That joy is possible because when I can't have a sense of joy for myself, somebody beside me will remind me that joy is possible. That becomes a part of our mission too, to be joy givers, to give that little Matchbox car to somebody who helps us, to give that smile, that token, that generosity, that little bit of kindness to somebody in need of joy in their life.